Now I'm Robin Lundberg here with Ryan Aselta. And Ryan, another day, another scandal in college basketball.
Yeah, just another day here on SI Now, right, Robin? Yahoo Sports has released a special report showing widespread recruiting corruption that may have violated NCAA amateurism rules. Now, according to the report, FBI documents link many high-profile programs and players to impermissible recruiting benefits, which range from payments for travel, meals, and even thousands of dollars in cash. This morning, NCAA President Mark Emmert released a statement in response to the Yahoo report, saying in part, these allegations, if true, point to systematic failures that must be fixed and fixed now if we want college sports in America. The board and I are completely committed to making transformational changes to the game and ensuring all involved college basketball do so with integrity. Robin, programs such as Michigan State, Duke, North Carolina, Texas, Kentucky, these are the big boys of the sport. They are mentioned in this report. Ultimately, how do you see this playing out, and who ends up taking the fall here?
Well, I'll answer the second question first. I think if Duke and Coach K are implicated, and Duke is mentioned in this story, that would be the biggest fall individually simply because of Coach K's pure and pristine reputation. But if we're talking about the fallout overall, come on. We have to be real here. This is a broken system. You just named basically every program that's won a national championship in the past 10 years. And the NCAA can pretend they're about amateur athletics. They are not. It is a business. They're getting $1 billion to televise March Madness this year, right? $5 million to some of these coaches out there. So to pretend that this is about the purity of the game when it's not is a farce, and until the system is completely overhauled or replaced entirely, you're going to keep going up and seeing these instances, and it's a waste of time to point at each individual one.
Yeah, I agree. It's taken the names of these coaches to be linked to this, the Teflon Dons of the sports world who we thought were untouchable. Now we're finally ready to address this issue. Shame on the NCAA. They're supposed to be overseeing all this, and it really does come down to money. Money gets in the way of their judgment, what they choose to look at, and ultimately we have systemic failure within the entire sport. Now, what did they do at this point, though? I mean, there's names linked to this report that are current players on teams that are heading to the NCAA tournament. Are they ruled ineligible? I mean, where do they go from here?
Yeah, I mean, I think if you do that, you start a slippery slope, right? Because you're going to have to start ruling almost everyone ineligible, but then you're hypocrites if you aren't ruling people ineligible and handing out the penalties. I think if I had the answer, I would be saying it, and it would be implemented somewhere else. I'm not the person in charge of this, but the NCAA as a whole, to be honest with you, might need to be replaced. Right. I mean, there might need to be a whole new amateur athletic system put in place because I don't know if this one isn't broken beyond repair.
Yeah, we may need to see a different organization at least oversee college basketball and college football, because college football is not out of the woods in this investigation.
Oh, of course not.
By any means. It may have to
just
be
the wrong time of year for it.
Exactly. And this comes, the timing of it, we're weeks before March Madness happens. So someone else is going to have to oversee these two major sports and let the NCAA deal with the non-money-making sports so that money doesn't cloud their judgment. What about the NBA players that are linked to this? Markelle Fultz, Dennis Smith Jr., Kyle Kuzma is in this report. These are guys who apparently took thousands and thousands of dollars. Obviously, they're untouchable when it comes to the NCAA, but what does it say about these guys?
Nothing. I mean, I don't feel really any differently at all. The numbers I saw actually weren't that great. The biggest number I think I saw was just over $70,000 for what was said to be a loan, and then the biggest number after that was about $10,000. We joke about bigger numbers than that, right? Yeah. When we're talking about, hey, how much are these guys getting paid under the table? You hear that all the time. Nothing they did was illegal. They just broke NCAA rules, and we know what the NCAA system is. We were just railing against it. So for me to get on a high horse and condemn these players, that wouldn't be right.
And let's face it, this has been going on for a long, long time. You've heard whispers. You know what's going on. We've seen the movies that implicate stories of this happening in college sports. Maybe this will mean it'll finally get dealt with.
Well, it's clearly now pervasive, right? Yeah. I mean, people have been saying that, but we're talking about basically every major program in college basketball. You can't point to one bad apple or anything like that. The whole bunch is spoiled. Yeah. From domestic scandals to international ones, another Olympic athlete from Russia has tested positive for doping in PyeongChang, as Nadiza Sergieva, who finished 12th in the two-woman bobsled, had a positive test for a banned substance on the heels of a Russian curler being stripped of his Olympic bronze medal. Does this make the ban of Russia from these games seem even more like a hollow penalty?
First of all, congrats to you. You have nailed these Olympic names all week, so I'm going to give you a gold medal when it comes to that, Robin.
Alina Zagitova and Evgenia Medvedeva.
Come on now, you got the Russian names, bro. But, I mean, honestly, the IOC looks like a bunch of dopes here, and no pun intended, because the Russian athletes should never have been allowed to partake in these Olympics. When you ban the Russian Athletic Federation and then allow athletes from Russia to compete, basically all you did was ban the flag and let these athletes come in. The federation was statewide doping. Anyone involved with the sports federation in Russia needs to be banned until things are sorted out, changes are made in Russia. What they did here was ridiculous to allow them to compete. And what do we got? We've got 2 tested positive so far. Of course, there's more than that. Until things get changed in Russia with doping, with anti-doping, they should not be allowed to compete in the Olympics. Bottom line.
I feel, this is tough because I don't want to punish every individual athlete because you can't say everyone is a part of it. However, this was clearly widespread. We've heard the term Russian meddling a lot recently, right? If you're just giving a slap on the wrist like this really was, it's going to continue, and it clearly continued right here. So if the goal was to stop it, then probably leaving participation totally to the side from any athlete who comes from Russia would have been the answer. They chose not to do it, and here we are.
And the IOC has been wishy-washy with how they've dealt with this from the start, going back to the Summer Games in Brazil, getting us to this point. And if you've seen the documentary, Icarus, you see the corruption here in the doping went straight to the top. I mean, Vladimir Putin's been linked to this. So anyone associated cannot compete until it's sorted out. It's that simple, in my opinion. All right. Some more positive news, Robin. The NBA returned from the All-Star break last night. The Wizards hand LeBron and the new-look Cavs their first loss since their trade deadline madness, while Russell Westbrook nails a game winner at the buzzer to lead the Thunder to a win out in Sacramento. Overall, good to have hoops back. What was your takeaway from last night?
The Wizards and how they're playing without John Wall. I'm not going to go as far as to say they are better without John Wall, but you watch them play and you see them play a nice style of basketball in his absence. They're 9-2 since he went down, and it makes me think 2 things. One, I'm ready, I believe, to say Bradley Beal is a better player than John Wall overall, his ability to shoot, his ability to kind of get other guys involved without dominating the basketball. And number 2, I really think the Wizards should consider trading John Wall this offseason. They clearly have a problem, his feud with Gortat. They clearly aren't good enough probably to get over the top. The best way to get there may be trading Wall while his value is still high and he's still considered a superstar player.
You're telling me, though, they can't try and work together and get that performance from Beal with Wall on the court with him?
We've seen it before. I mean, that's definitely possible to see happen, but that's also not good enough. So if I'm able to be a compelling watch, as the Wizards were in beating the Cavs, without John Wall, and then I'm able to flip John Wall for multiple draft picks and some young players, I do think that might be the move this summer.
All right, talking about some of the big names, that was my highlight from last night. The big guys are ready for the second half of the season. We see it with Russ, the buzzer beater with 1 second to go. 17 points, 15, and 11. Triple-double. He was the 4th leading scorer on the Thunder. Could that be the way he finally leads this team deeper into the postseason? They're 5th in the West right now, but only a game and a half behind 3rd place San Antonio. I kind of think Russ is going to have a big home stretch here and push this team a little further than a lot of us thought they would go early on in the season. Steph Curry, 44 and 9 last night. I think the big boys are ready. We're going to see the stars shine a little more. Even LeBron, in a losing effort, had a huge night last night. These guys have clearly come back refreshed from this All-Star break, and they are ready to go.
Everybody's refreshed after a vacation. We got some comments coming in. Queen Kira sends a comment in on Facebook saying Wallstar hashtag is greater than Beal. I disagree, but we see you out there commenting. Earlier this week, Rich Eisen said an MLB exec told him a possible rule change being floated around baseball would allow the trailing manager to send any 3 batters he wanted to the plate in the 9th inning, regardless of where the team was in the batting order. While I don't like this rule per se, Ryan, it did inspire us to think of some wacky baseball rule changes I could get behind. And piggybacking off of that one, I like pick any 3 batters, but I like it so both managers have the option and they can do it on demand when they choose. So they decide, hey, in this situation, we're up 1-0, I want to go for the jugular, or we're behind in the 5th inning, I'm going to pick my top 3 batters, say it is Judge, Stanton, and Sanchez if you're the Yankees.
All right, let me preface this by saying I know I'm going to get killed as being a baseball purist, a traditionalist when I shoot down all of these new ideas because, for the most part, I think they're idiotic. I think baseball needs to evolve. They don't need to change the game of baseball. The basics of 9 innings, 1 run counts as 1 run. This type of stuff is way out there.
You don't like the drama of when it might happen?
Right. No, okay, here's the problem with picking these 3 batters. You're rewarding the idea that Rich Eisen put out there and Major League Baseball gives a little credence to is the losing team gets to pick 3, okay? Well, you're rewarding a team for losing for 8 innings.
Well, that idea I don't like. I'm saying each team gets the choice at some point during the game. Like, like a challenge or, what have you. You pull your lineup card and you say, pick these 3 batters. You ever seen pro wrestling with the Money in the Bank? They get to cash that in. Always a lot of drama around that.
What you said. Pro wrestling, which is not a sport, ladies and gentlemen, is entertainment, okay? Picking these 3 batters takes away a lot of the strategy from the game. Decisions are made throughout the game.
Wouldn't it be strategy of when you pick the 3 batters?
Well, decisions are made throughout the game according to setting up pitchers to face certain batters. Managers are making those decisions through innings 1 through 8.
But how dare the delicate genius of a pitcher be upset by having to adjust?
No. I'm saying no to this one. All right, what do we? You got some more for me. I know you got some more.
I've got another one.
Wacky ideas.
Instead of extra innings, you have the end of, I'll say regular season games to see if I can get you on board, settled by a home run derby, sudden death. Maybe the way I picture this, I was convinced about this, you have 2 guys from each side, right? 1-on-1 and then 1-on-1. If one team's 2 guys take both, they win the game. If it's a tie, the 2 winning home run champs go to a final for the game.
All right, here's what I'm a little more amenable to. I don't like it. I don't think it should be implemented. But I can see how this would be fun late in a ball game. Okay, maybe you play 12 innings. We get to the 12th inning, we're still tied, then you decide it this way. Because the bottom line is, some of these games have gotten too long. When you're going over 5 hours, it's just too long to keep your attention.
It's the baseball version of a shootout in soccer or in hockey. And, I mean, if you don't have a vested interest and you're a regular functioning human being with a job, you don't want to be up till 2 a.m. watching an 18-inning game. But it might draw people in who weren't even watching the game if you have 2 of the biggest sluggers with the game on the line hitting home runs now.
I love long baseball games. I will say that. I'm in the minority. I know that. Hey, 16 innings, yeah, I'm all for it. I'll sit and watch. This could be fun, though. When you can talk about sending your best hitters to the plate. Well, 12 innings, we go to the 13th, still tied. The Angels get to put Mike Trout to the plate in a home run derby to try to decide things. You may be able to sway me on that
I'm saying we don't even go to the 10th. It's right after the 9th inning. All right, my final one is to incentivize more running. I think baseball needs more running. What's more exciting than a play at home plate? So in this instance, stealing home plate not only gives you the run, but erases all of your outs from the inning.
Robin, cue the clowns, send the giraffe out to the outfield. This is a circus. It's idiotic. It will never happen for many reasons. First of all, the defense will know that the runner on third is going to be trying to steal.
But games that might be devoid of drama, otherwise you could add it in. What if it actually happens? What about the one game where somebody steals home in a close play and erases the outs and comes back to win?
Is it dramatic when you know it's going to happen? That's why stealing home is so much fun when it happens a couple times a year, because it's so rare and it catches people by surprise.
Are you saying it's a negative if we take something that happens a couple times a year and maybe triple or quadruple that?
I'm just saying it's not going to happen because the defense will know that they're looking to do it late in the game. They'll be prepared. There'll be pitch outs. And the other thing is the safety issue of this.
What about the surprise aspect early in a game if you go for it? When they're not expecting it, you steal home to erase your outs, and then you have a big first inning.
Well, they still have, you were talking about 1 out. They still have a chance to surprise you any point in the game. We still don't see it. It's dangerous. That's one thing that's going to be an issue, why this would never happen. Baseball has curtailed some of the rules into sliding into home plate, and safety is becoming a bigger issue. So I don't like this one. I think this is circus baseball. And as a whole, Robin, when you look, obviously this is prompted by people saying that the sport is in trouble. Attracting younger audience is an issue for Major League Baseball. As I said, I don't think baseball needs to change. They do need to evolve. Baseball is wildly successful. This is a $10 billion industry. Franchises are making money over hand and fist right now. Local markets, Baseball is the #1 television rated show in those local markets where they have teams.
There's so much programming for them to offer, so many sponsorship opportunities within a given game. Baseball's problem is not its audience or its fan base. I think the problem is cultivating new fans in the future, and that's why you see stuff like this brought up.
Well, and we're talking about the younger audience, which is interesting. Major League Baseball media has been at the forefront of watching sports in the digital landscape. They are the ones that invented this. They are the ones that have the MLB Game Pass for the season and invented that. So they're getting that younger audience there. I do think when you look, though, further on down the line at the grassroots level, that's where this has to change a bit. Little League coaches have to make this more fun for kids, to make it more interesting and get involved and compete against sports like lacrosse. On the Major League landscape, though, we talked about pace of play. We talked about timing. Major League Baseball needs to make this game more accessible to young kids. You can't have the World Series in the 8th inning at 12:30 at night when you're trying to attract a younger audience, when kids can't go to school the next day and talk about the big game because they were asleep. They have to change game times. They have to speed up play, and we've seen that. They're making changes to the rules to speed up play a bit.
A pitch clock is easy, and it's something they probably already should have been implemented.
Would you still call me a purist?
Yes, of course. It's day 15 at the Winter Olympics in PyeongChang. Here's who won, what made news, and which events you should watch. Alina Zagitova bested her Russian rival Evgenia Medvedeva as the two took gold and silver in women's single figure skating. Canada achieved a 1-2 of its own as Kelsey Serwa and Brittany Phelan took the top 2 spots in women's ski cross. And the Netherlands won its 7th gold medal in 12 speed skating events, with Kjeld Nice taking the 1,000 meter. As the games start to come to a close, look for Team USA to pull off a potential upset in the men's curling final against world #1 Sweden. And speed skating will feature the first mass start in Olympic history. The event is a long track race that is sure to be chaotic, as 24 racers compete at once. American Joey Mancha is the reigning world champion on the men's side. Here's the medal count heading into the final weekend of competition. It's time for SI Now's Weekend Drive, presented by Toyota. Let's go places. We'll start in Florida for the Honda Classic. Tiger Woods will be making his 3rd start of the season and will try to bounce back from his missed cut at Riviera. Woods shot a 70 in his opening round and was very proud of the result.
I felt very comfortable today. I felt like I hit the ball really well, and it was tough out there. I mean, I had to hit a lot of knockdown shots. I had to work the golf ball both ways, and occasionally downwind, throw it straight up in the air. And I was able to do all that today, so that was very pleasing.
Woods has been making progress. This 70 has matched his best round since his return. Next, we travel to PyeongChang for the closing ceremonies of the Olympics. Norway has dominated the medal count, but one of the most prolific wins came from the U.S. women's hockey team in their gold medal win over Canada. Captain Megan Duggan discusses what the win and experience meant to the team.
The way we looked at each other on the ice after, the time we spent in the locker room together after the game. The win was about our team, our program, our country, and we couldn't be more proud.
This gold marks the first time Canada hasn't won hockey over the past 20 years. Lastly, we hit up the start of MLB spring training. The Yankees will take the field for the first time, and we get a taste of the type of power Giancarlo Stanton and Aaron Judge will produce in the lineup. Here's Stanton discussing his time with the team.
I'm new. I'm a deer in headlights here too, so I'm asking them questions, getting to know how things work around here, and taking in all the information I can get.
Stanton and Judge are projected to surpass the combined home run record for teammates set at 115 in 1961 by Mickey Mantle and Roger Maris. And that's what's in store